Your Roth IRA allocation should probably look different at 25 than it does at 65, but age alone does not determine the correct portfolio. It is simply the starting point. Your time horizon matters. Your ability to tolerate losses matters. Your job stability, future spending needs, other retirement accounts, and overall financial situation matter too. That is why I do not like universal rules such as saying every 30-year-old should own exactly 90% stocks. What we can build instead is a reasonable glide path, a set of starting ranges that gradually adjust risk as retirement gets closer. And throughout this video, those percentages are educational frameworks, not personalized allocations. The objective is not to react to whatever the market did this month. It is to build a Roth IRA that can evolve with your life. And before we decide what belongs inside it, we need to understand why Roth space is so valuable in the first place. In 2026, the combined contribution limit across traditional and Roth IRAs is $7,500. If you are age 50 or older, that limit rises to $8,600. So Roth IRA space is limited, and that makes the assets you place inside the account especially important. Roth contributions are made with after-tax money, and qualified withdrawals can eventually be tax-free when the requirements are satisfied. For the original owner, Roth IRAs also do not have lifetime required minimum distributions. That can give the account an unusually long compounding horizon. So the goal is not simply to fill the Roth with whatever investment happens to look safest today. We want to think carefully about what assets can benefit from decades of compounding, while still respecting the investor's actual risk capacity. And nobody has more potential time for that compounding than someone starting in their 20s. In your 20s, time is probably the biggest advantage you have. As an educational starting range, I would think about something around 90 to 100% stocks with 0 to 10% bonds. Why so aggressive? Because retirement may still be 40 years away. That gives a young investor enormous time to recover from normal bear markets and participate in long-term economic growth. The stock portion should not need to be complicated. Broad U.S. equities combined with international stocks can already provide enormous diversification. The biggest risk at this age may not actually be market volatility, it may be behavioral risk. If you build a 100% stock portfolio but sell everything after a 40% crash, then the aggressive allocation was never appropriate for you in the first place. So the goal is not maximum theoretical returns. It is the highest level of risk you can realistically maintain through ugly markets. And as life becomes more complicated in your 30s, that distinction becomes even more important. In your 30s, retirement is still far away, so growth should generally remain the dominant objective. A reasonable starting framework might be around 85 to 95% stocks and 5 to 15% bonds. That is still aggressive, but your financial life may now look very different. A mortgage, children, career changes, business ownership, or other obligations can reduce your ability to absorb financial shocks. And this is where risk tolerance and risk capacity separate. You might emotionally feel comfortable owning 100% stocks, but if losing your job during a recession would force you to sell investments, your actual risk capacity may be lower. At the same time, becoming too conservative in your 30s can create another risk. You may sacrifice decades of growth because of short-term discomfort. So the allocation can begin adjusting, but growth still deserves priority. The bigger shift usually starts in the next decade when retirement stops feeling completely theoretical. By your 40s, the portfolio still has meaningful time to grow, but risk management begins to deserve more attention. A starting range around 75 to 90% stocks and 10 to 25% bonds can provide a useful framework. Notice that this is still an equity-heavy portfolio. Someone who is 45 may easily have 20 years before retirement and another 20 or 30 years after that. So abandoning stocks simply because retirement feels closer can be a major overreaction. But you also have less time to recover from large mistakes than you did at 25. That makes diversification, position sizing, and disciplined rebalancing increasingly important. The transition should usually be gradual. not one day 90% stocks and the next day 50% because the market became scary. And that gradual transition becomes much more important once you enter your 50s. Your 50s are where protecting what you have already built begins competing more directly with maximizing future growth. A model starting range might be 60 to 80% stocks and 20 to 40% bonds. This is also when the higher IRA contribution limit for investors age 50 and older becomes available. But contribution size is only part of the story. Sequence of returns risk is becoming more important. If the market crashes when retirement is 30 years away, you have time. If it crashes just before you retire and begin withdrawing money, the damage can become much more difficult to recover from. So, retirement date, portfolio size, expected Social Security or pension income, and other assets increasingly influence the correct allocation. This is not the decade to stop investing for growth. It is the decade to make sure growth is no longer your only objective. And once retirement is actually within sight, the trade-off becomes even more interesting. If you want more retirement and investing analysis built around long-term decisions instead of short-term market predictions, subscribe to Boring Money Wins and hit the like button. We cover Roth IRAs, 401ks, ETFs, stocks, bonds, REITs, treasuries, and crypto with one basic objective: understand the risk before you chase the return. And the next part is where Roth IRA allocation becomes especially interesting, because after age 60, becoming older does not automatically mean every dollar inside your Roth should become more conservative. In some cases, the Roth may actually be the retirement account with the longest remaining investment horizon. Let's look at why. In your early 60s, retirement may be only a few years away. A starting range around 50 to 70% stocks and 30 to 50% bonds can create a more balanced portfolio. But the important word is balanced. Moving everything into bonds because retirement has arrived creates another risk: longevity. A 62-year-old investor could need the portfolio to last 30 years or longer. Inflation can also quietly erode purchasing power throughout that period. So there are two dangers competing with each other. Too much stock exposure can increase sequence of returns risk during the early retirement years. Too little stock exposure can leave the portfolio without enough growth to support a long retirement. That is why retirement should not be viewed as the finish line for investing. It is simply the transition from accumulation to a different phase of portfolio management. And after 65, the purpose of the Roth itself can become more important than the investor's age. Between roughly 65 and 75, a broad starting framework might place stocks somewhere around 40 to 60%. But this is where I would become increasingly cautious about using age alone. Imagine an investor who funds current living expenses from Social Security, a pension, taxable investments, and a traditional IRA. The Roth IRA may not be touched for many years, and because the original Roth owner does not face lifetime required minimum distributions, that account could potentially remain invested longer than the rest of the retirement portfolio. That changes its effective time horizon. In some cases, keeping the Roth more growth-oriented than the total household portfolio can make sense, especially if part of the objective is eventually leaving assets to beneficiaries. In other cases, the Roth may be needed for near-term spending, and a more balanced allocation would be appropriate. So after retirement, account purpose increasingly matters, and that becomes even clearer after age 75. After 75, I would stop trying to give one stock to bond percentage that supposedly works for everyone. The question becomes, what is this money actually for? If the Roth will fund living expenses over the next several years, stability becomes much more important. That could justify more bonds or cash-like assets. But imagine another retiree whose basic spending is already covered by Social Security, a pension, and other accounts. That Roth may primarily serve as long-term wealth or an eventual inheritance. Its investment horizon could therefore be much longer. In that situation, meaningful equity exposure may still make sense. Older age does not automatically mean zero stocks. Longevity risk remains real, and inflation does not disappear because you retired. So the appropriate allocation increasingly depends on spending needs, other assets, and estate objectives. And regardless of age, there is one diversification decision that should not disappear: U.S. stocks versus the rest of the world. As you adjust the stock to bond mix over time, I would not automatically abandon geographic diversification. A broad U.S. fund such as VTI or an S&P 500 fund such as VOO can form the domestic core. International exposure can be added through something like VXUS. The exact percentage is a separate allocation decision. The important point is that aging should primarily change how much equity risk you own, not necessarily turn all remaining equities into U.S. stocks. Recent U.S. market dominance can make international diversification feel unnecessary, but diversification exists precisely because we do not know which country or region will dominate the next 20 years. So even as the stock allocation becomes smaller, it can remain geographically diversified. But then we run into another important question. If the Roth is such valuable tax-free space, should bonds even be held inside it? This is where asset allocation and asset location become two different decisions. Asset allocation asks how much you want in stocks, bonds, and other investments. Asset location asks which account should hold each asset. Because Roth growth can potentially compound tax-free, some investors prefer placing higher expected return assets inside the Roth while holding more bonds inside traditional retirement accounts. That can be tax efficient, but I would not let tax optimization destroy the actual risk plan. If your entire portfolio needs 40% bonds, those bonds need to exist somewhere. And if the Roth is the only account available to create the risk level you need, then holding bonds inside it may be perfectly reasonable. Taxes matter, but surviving the portfolio matters more. And this leads directly to one of the biggest mistakes I see in retirement planning: evaluating the Roth IRA as though it were your entire financial life. Imagine your Roth IRA is 100% stocks. That sounds aggressive. But now imagine your 401k and traditional IRA contained large bond positions. At the household level, your total portfolio might actually be quite balanced. This is why each retirement account should not necessarily duplicate the same allocation. Your Roth IRA, your 401k, your traditional IRA, and your taxable brokerage account. Together, they form one economic portfolio. So the number that ultimately matters is your total exposure across all accounts. A 70-year-old investor could have an aggressive Roth and still own a conservative overall portfolio. Or a 30-year-old could have a conservative Roth while unknowingly taking enormous risk elsewhere. Account allocation and household asset allocation are not the same thing. And once you view everything together, changing risk with age becomes much easier to manage through a gradual glide path. A glide path is simply the idea that risk gradually changes as your investment horizon changes. When retirement is 40 years away, the portfolio can usually tolerate more equity exposure. As the need for the money approaches, bonds and other stabilizing assets can gradually become more important. The key word is gradually. You do not need to predict the next recession. You do not need to sell stocks because the financial news became frightening. You can review the allocation periodically, rebalance toward the target, and adjust when something meaningful changes in your life. Retirement gets closer. Your income changes. Your spending expectations change. Your risk capacity changes. Those are reasons to modify the plan. A market crash by itself is not. So instead of market timing, the glide path was us a disciplined framework. And now we can put the entire age-based structure on one final slide. Here is the complete framework. In your 20s, roughly 90 to 100% stocks can be a reasonable starting range. In your 30s, around 85 to 95%. In your 40s, around 75 to 90%. In your 50s, roughly 60 to 80%. In your early 60s, around 50 to 70%. Between 65 and 75, something around 40 to 60% stocks can serve as a general starting point. And after 75, I would increasingly let spending needs, other assets, and legacy goals determine the allocation rather than forcing everyone into the same percentage. None of these numbers are rules, they are starting ranges. Age tells you something important. approximately how much time you may have, but your total portfolio tells us what you already own. Your income and spending tell us how dependent you are on the money, and your behavior tells us how much volatility you can actually survive without abandoning the plan. The ultimate Roth IRA allocation is not the portfolio with the most perfect percentage. It is the portfolio aggressive enough to compound, conservative enough to survive, and simple enough that you can actually hold it through every stage of your life.